All right, there we go. So we'll give you the quick overview. So what we're looking at right now is Caseload Manager, and you should all have logins. If you have any questions about logging in, then please go ahead and reach out to me. So there are 5 main centers. First, we have calendar here in the upper left, activity center over here in the upper right. Down at the bottom, this is where you'll be spending most of your time. This is the Cases Center. Now, when everybody logs in, of course, you have your own login. So the system recognizes that, and it's only going to show you your cases, your calendar, your activities, etc. So whatever you see when you log in, that's what you have access to. That's what you're supposed to be working on. And then we have 2 additional centers. I'm just trying to juggle all these things on my screen. There we go. We have 2 additional centers, and that's over here in the upper right, the Mail Center and Reports. Mail, obviously, that's where you like send email, create documents, that kind of stuff. Reports, that's where you can get a quick summary. So if you want to see what cases are going on, or let's do this. If you want to see, okay, for yourself, I'll do this. If you want to see for yourself what you've been up to, how many hours you've been working, how many hours you've been volunteering, etc., then you can just get a quick summary, and you can also filter that by cases. So that's your 1-minute overview of the 5 centers of Caseload Manager. So now let's go a little bit deeper. All right, so I mentioned you'll be spending most of your time down here in the Cases Center. So first, you probably want to customize this and make it work for you. So to do that, we'll start over here by clicking Select Fields. And again, this is dependent on your login. So whatever fields you select, that's what will show up for you. It won't affect everybody else sees. So let's say you probably want to see the case ID. You want to know if it's open or closed. And you might want to know what it's waiting for, meaning, is there something going on with this case where they're waiting for me? I have to send a document. I have to call another party. So I think that one is pretty important. You probably don't need to know the date that it's closed. You might not need to know some of this stuff. So you can just go through and figure out what's most important for you to select, right? What's most important for you to see. So then you click Update. It updates. We close, it refreshes. So now it's changed these fields. So see these headers, just cases, the open, closed, all that good stuff. So it's changed for me. So every time I log in now, it's just going to show me the fields that I want to see here. It's like my dashboard. Okay, so now we've customized it a little bit. So now let's get in and get to work.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
Would you rather us hold the questions at the end or ask
No, please ask them as we're going.
Okay, so that what you just did, which seems really interesting. Was that over at the filter where cases is, and you went to filter, or
exactly.
was it select fields?
Yep.
Okay.
So I click cases, and it's just next to filter. It's the select fields button.
Okay.
So select fields, that's selecting what fields we're looking at. Filter, that filters what cases we're looking at. For instance, I like to keep mine filtered so that I'm only looking at all open cases. If I ever need to come back and look at a closed case, then I can change my filter options. But just to keep my screen nice and tidy, I like to only be viewing my open cases. You might choose to only look at cases that are open or closed between a certain period of time. You might be looking for a specific person's name, so maybe a case that has to do with Joe Smith. So filtering, it filters what cases you're actually looking at, whereas select field says, what fields am I looking at within those cases? Does that make sense? It's just kind of 2 different ways to change what you're viewing. All right. So coming back down here to my cases section, I'm going to click on case, and then it opens. Quick word of warning, browsers do not have a specific way that they like to open this. They are notorious for hiding these. So for me, I have it set, obviously, so that this window opens up in front. Sometimes the window opens up behind, and you're like, oh my gosh, where is that window? And then you can see that it was hiding there. Some other browsers open it in a new tab. So as you're first using this, there's a little bit of hide and go seek where you're just figuring out how your browser handles new windows, new tabs, new reports, all of that stuff. But, you know, after using it for a couple of hours, you should get the hang of it. Anyway, so we click on a new case. I have mine set to open up in front, so it's nice and easy. We can see case name here, who a case is referred by over here, some of your office-specific information, accused, officer, witness, etc. And scrolling down here, this is where you'll see the party and agent. So a couple of things. You can have lots of people in each party. So for instance, you might have the complainant, the accused officer, the witness, etc., all part of party 1. And then you can have multiple additional people for party 2, party 3. So you can have hundreds of people involved in the same case. So as soon as I add in a person, a blank space opens to add another person, and then another person, and then another person. It just keeps going and going. So when people first look at this, a lot of times they're like, oh my gosh, there's only places to add 2 people, but we have more complex cases than that. Don't worry. The system will keep growing as you keep adding new people. Same down here with the staff. So sometimes you might just have 2 mediators, but as soon as you fill space in, let me just show you what that looks like. So right now I've filled both of those mediator places. As soon as I update, oh, right, we've added these required. Quick note about this. A bunch of required fields have been added. That means that I'm not going to be able to save the case until there's something in those required fields. So I'm going to put information in here just so you can see how to save a case. But that's another conversation that we'll want to talk about in a minute.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I just thought of something. Is there a field for an alleged victim? Because sometimes we have complainant, but the complainant is just the person that's filling it out for a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a feel for that yet?
So it sounds like right now the person types that we have are just complainant, an accused officer, and witness.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're saying that you would like to come up with another person type. Is that right? Alleged victim?
Yeah, because sometimes the person that's filling out the form is not actually the victim that, you know, has had something done to them. They're just the complainant that's filling out the form for the victim.
Sure. So it sounds like we should create another person type. So I'm doing that down in settings, person type. So I'll add another one.
Other than the complainant. Yeah.
Okay.
So, is the debugging information I see keeps popping up? Is that supposed to be there?
Oh, it's right. It's just on mine because I'm a super user. That's all. I can't remember to turn it off before trainings, but I just get so used to it, I forget.
Got it.
So
Okay.
yeah, you won't see all of this junk down here. This is just so we can keep an eye on the system and know exactly how long every report is taking.
Got it. Thank you.
Anyway, yeah, so you were asking about alleged victims, so I've just added that. So now, whenever you want to add a new person, I just clicked, come back. I just clicked this link that says add names this party, and then a new window open so that I can add a new person. And so now under type, I can select alleged victim. And so we just fill out the basic information and say, John Doe is alleging that, I don't know, he was bitten by, or let's say this way.
Hi, Claire. Can I ask a quick question?
Please, yeah.
On the screen where you added the alleged victim name to the list of possible choices, what was the order number that you put in after that?
Sure. So I didn't really go over that because as interns, I'm not sure if you guys have access to that, but just in case you're given access, let me explain. So all of our menus are created that way, where they have a sort order on the side. And the best way to think about this is it's like a balloon. If it's really light, it rises to the top. If it's really heavy, it pulls it down to the bottom. And so you can pick whatever number you want. It just, the system's going to care about, is it greater than or smaller than the numbers around it. So if I wanted to push it up to the top, then I'd give it a much smaller sort order number, such as 5. Now that appears at the top. And it's just a way for you to organize your lists. So some people like these to be alphabetical. What most people do is they keep the most common responses up at the top. So if alleged victim is something that you barely ever use, I'd force it down to the bottom.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So we did a very brief overview of calendar activities, cases, mail, and reports. Just showed you guys where those were. And then we looked at a case screen and mainly showed you here's how you're going to be filling out the different fields. I see all the notes are over here in the notes section. Any additional notes? Let me just make a suggestion here. Additional notes I would add as an activity. So activity type. You might want to add another activity type that says notes. And I would just say maybe phone call with complainant. Complainant alleges that she has tried to settle, but I don't know, but it didn't work, something like that. Okay, so the point is, any additional notes you want to put in here. I'm going to come back and talk to you guys about these required fields because as you're noticing, I'm not able to save anything unless I fill out that information. And there's going to be times where you don't have that information or it just doesn't make sense to fill it out. So for the moment, I'm filling them out, but I'm going to hopefully make these not required. Okay, so I've added a quick, go ahead.
It looks like, so the activity from the main case is allowing you to kind of give a more narrow and specific occurrence, but then it looks like in that activity screen, it's requiring all of the basic information like CRB received and so forth, again, even though it's already in the main edit, like main case area.
Yeah, so these fields shouldn't be in here.
Right, in the activity area, right.
Right.
I just need to know
looks like
because it's already a
they
part
were
of the
added.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So how about after this phone call, let's just have a few minutes where I understand why they were added there. It initially makes sense, but I think now that you're seeing all the different ways that they're popping up, we'll probably want to remove those fields. Okay. No problem. All right. So just to finish my point earlier, so you can see that the main case notes are up here in this notes field. But scrolling down, all the additional stuff that happens, I would just add those as an activity. So then you'll keep a running log of what date did this happen and who took the note. Was there any domestic violence? Was a contract received? Were the police contacted? Just all of that stuff. You'll see that these notes will start to pile up down here as just a running log so that anybody who comes in and looks at the case can quickly be caught up. Does that make sense?
Yes, this is Evangela. May I ask you a question?
Hi. Please. Mm-hmm.
I have a weekly report. So everything that I do on a case, I take notes on it. So would this be good for me to hand in for Keisha every week? Like everything like I said, everything I do. So I would use the activity log.
Yeah. So let's say you, let me just think about this for 1 second. So what I'd probably do.
And at the end of the week, I would get a nice, clean report that I could print out and, you know, like in a chart format.
Well, yeah, I'm playing around with it for a second to just think about the best way to do that. Probably like this. Yeah, because that's going to show you, well, that won't show you the details. Does she mainly want to see how much time you're spending on stuff or all of the details? Like, I called this person and this was their response.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily time, but just the work that, you know, progress maybe, you know.
Right. So then I would probably do, from the home screen, it's going to show you a summary of all of your activities. And so if you just want it for the last week, then, you know, just do, I don't know, between Monday and Friday, for instance. And so then this will just show you your activities for the last week. And then you just click export. So see this button in the upper right that says export?
Yeah.
So that's going to, it's going to plunk out all of your activities for the last week. And then you can view them however you want. What I really like is to view them in Excel. I think that's the cleanest way to do it because then it's like you were saying, it's a chart with all of your activities. So if you like, as soon as you're at that point where you're ready to print out your list, why don't you give me a call and we can walk through it together. And I'll just show you exactly how to filter for the week, make sure you're selecting exactly the right fields that you want to show up in that report, and then export it out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions, or should I go back to the case screen?
Back to the case screen, I think.
Sounds good.
Would be helpful.
So I'm clicking on a case. Yeah. All right. So again, all of our main case information over here on the left, contacts information down here in the bottom, and so clearly we have participants are up at the top, and then staff down at the bottom, and then over here on the right, this is where we've got the case notes. And I want to point out a couple things before I move on. Status, this will quickly show you what's going on with the case. You can see this one has been assigned, open, closed, sent to mediation, etc. So status will quickly show you what's going on. But then we have this other box, waiting for. And I think this one's really useful. It's one of the fields that I always have selected right here on the home screen, just so I can quickly see, hey, what's going on with this case? Is it waiting on me for something? Are we waiting on the parties? You know, what's the holdup? What's the next action item for this case? So I think this one's really useful to just take notes for each other, like we're waiting for second party to respond, or waiting for mediator needs to schedule. Whatever it is, just take notes for each other so that it's really clear, what do we need to do to get this case moving forward? Next down here we have documents. So what we're looking at right now is the screen, obviously, where you can upload documents. And this is where a mediator or a staff person can come in and log, for instance, the confidentiality agreement or the final mediation agreement. And so this is where you can see a running history of all of the documents that the staff has uploaded. There's also another place where participants can upload documents directly into their case. And for some people, that's fantastic, especially people that do foreclosure or divorce, because there is just a ridiculous amount of paperwork that they need for those, and they're huge files that often get filtered out with your email. So for them, it's really useful to just have participants be able to upload documents directly without the mediators needing to be the middleman. For a lot of other cases, restorative justice or just your average community cases, it's just a hassle and they don't want to bother their clients. What do you think? For you guys, do you think it's something that your clients would find useful or that your staff would find useful, or do you think it's just an unnecessary step to ask your clients to upload their documents? And all of this stuff is stuff that you don't have to decide now. I'm just trying to show you a bunch of different features so that maybe 6 months down the road, you're thinking, wow, it would really be useful if our clients can upload documents. Hey, Claire told us we could do that. Let's give her a call and then we'll set up a training. So,
okay, great.
Yeah, so I'm trying to just put a bunch of stuff in your head now so that when you need to, you know what's available and what's not, and you can give me a call and we can do it. All right, so going down here, we looked at documents. Next, calendar items. A lot of people end up just using one or the other. Like they'll just use calendar items or they'll just use activities. And that's fine. It's really whatever works best for you guys. In my head, I like to keep them separate because a calendar item to me is something that you're scheduling on the calendar, right? It's a future item, like a mediation or a training or an outreach activity. So that's something that you're going to schedule in advance. Activity, that's just all the day-to-day stuff. The emails, the phone calls, the payments received, all of that stuff. That's more just keeping track of it. That's an activity. And another reason why I really recommend using calendar items is because of this great feature down at the bottom that I just love. So let's say we filled it all out, you know, blah, blah, blah. We have a meeting scheduled and it's tomorrow morning, should last about 3 hours. We've assigned the right staff. We've selected the right people. But then the best part is down here at the bottom, we can say, hey, instead of us having to send a note out to the parties and having to send a reminder out to the staff, and then another note the day before, let's just have caseload manager do it. So by clicking these buttons, I'm saying, hey, caseload manager, send a note out to everyone, notifying them about this meeting, and then send a reminder. It goes out like late afternoon, actually. I think it goes out about 4 o'clock the day before the meeting. And you can include little notes in here saying, please bring all, I don't know, documents, evidence, whatever it is that you want to tell your clients or your staff. You just put a quick note in here, and then it will email out those notes. So this is one of my favorite features, just knowing that Caseload Manager is keeping track of those reminders for you in the background.
So one of the things that I know when Elizabeth had first entered in the information, when we sent an email, I think it came up City of Baltimore, like it's the City of Baltimore sent it. Do you know if that's been changed so that it reflects whether it's Evangelo or someone else and so forth?
It should reflect whomever is logged in.
Okay.
So,
perfect.
Yeah. So right now, I'm logged in as Elizabeth, and so it will always come from her as the City of Baltimore.
So the email will be from the City of Baltimore?
Well, because I'm logged in as her as the admin. But, yeah, as Elizabeth. So same thing
when
for
it comes
Owen
from her,
and
it'll say
Jordan.
Elizabeth.Morse. It won't say City of Baltimore.
The best thing is, as you've already done, is just to send one and look at it. Let me go to your mail sender and see what that looks like. So it should say there's like an overarching subject line that will say City of Baltimore, which we can change if you want to. We can completely remove that if you don't want to see. And then just underneath that, it will say from the person's name and email address.
Okay.
Yeah, so when people actually receive the email, it will probably say City of Baltimore up top. Again, my recommendation is just stay with it for a little bit. And then if you say, Claire, I absolutely don't like that City of Baltimore, then no problem. We can just come into your global settings and we can change this or we can remove it.
Well,
just
we can change it right now. We can just change it to civilian review board.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. I'm going to unselect some of these. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your staff records. See right here where it says staff and then that field is empty? You see right there where my cursor is? Okay. So the reason why is because it wants to put in initials, but there weren't any initials for that person. So right here, I'll just go in because I'm entered as Elizabeth. If you just enter initial there, then it helps the system. Close. Let's get that out of the way. So now, as soon as I refresh, oh, I got rid of staff. Sorry, I'm a step ahead of myself. Hold on. Okay, so now as I enter new activities, say drop in. Okay, so I'm entering a test activity here. It's probably going to make me enter all of these. Okay, so I've entered a test activity. Over here on the right, it's saying, hey, do you want to have a follow-up calendar item from this? If you want, great, just enter in the details. This is kind of useful, you know, if one party calls and then you know that you need to schedule a follow-up call the next day. So this is useful for that, and then we'll place an item on your calendar. And same thing, you can send a reminder out to yourself. And then I want to point out one more thing before I leave the screen. You can click save, and that will just save your call. If you're scheduling a new training, if you're doing a call, if you're just making a note, if you're referring somebody else out to another resource, then you'll probably just want to save it, and then it will archive this call in your caseload manager. Sometimes as you're talking to a person, you can tell, wow, this is really going to turn into a new case. These people need mediation. So then you'll click this button on the left, and it will turn all the details from that call into a new case record. So most of the time, if you're just on the phone with somebody, you just want to make note of it, you hit save. If you can tell it will turn into a case, you hit that button on the left. Okay, so for the moment, I just want to do a quick test here. So I'll click save. And there we go, activity added. So now that I've added initials over here under activity, see how those initials are showing up under staff? So I think it's just useful to put initials in your staff record, because then if anybody has a question, then they can actually track back and be like, hey, Elizabeth, tell me more about this call. I'm a little confused, or do you think they're ready for mediation or not? So that's one note about your staff record, is that you want to make sure you're including initials there. Let's look at a couple other details.
Claire, that last screen that you had, there were two boxes that talked about like additional like associate.
Right. Let's go back there. So let's say I did want to turn this into, right, let's say I did want to turn this into a new case and I wanted everything to be wrapped up together. Then I would go ahead and check these boxes. Yeah. To be completely honest, I don't think these boxes need to be showing up in your case record. There are some people where it's really important to know exactly what information is showing up in a case and if those contacts are displaying. Just from what I know about how your system is set up, I think that these fields will be more cumbersome than they'll be useful. So I don't know.
So we don't need that field.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Well,
yeah, so I'd like to ask if they could be removed.
Well, hold on. I just want to get clarity on the activity detail. I thought the activities were associated with the case already.
Well, typically, so if I were to go into a case and then add an activity from within that case, then yes, it's going to be associated. But if I just add an activity from the home screen, because then it's not associated. I can add it, but there are times where maybe somebody's just calling for information, or you're scheduling a mediation training, or you're having a big staff meeting. So there are going to be those rare times where it's not associated.
Okay.
It's rare, but you know, it does happen.
Nope. Yeah, and then this allows us. This is great because then it allows us to track those as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, so sorry, I got sidetracked. So just to answer your question about these associate buttons, yes, for the moment, if you want everything to be tied up together and have all the different records related to each other, yes, you will need to check these boxes. I'm going to make a request with the programmer that the boxes be removed so that they're just not confusing for your system. Until I get those removed, you will still have to check.
Right. We have an activity, then within a case, do it from the case, from the main.
Yep. Yeah. Whenever you're working on a case, you want to click on the case first. And then from in there, click Add Activity, Add Calendar Item, et cetera. And it will already have the right people added to it. That's taking too long to load. There we go. Okay. Let's see. So I'm getting a stop from Zoom. Sorry, I'm not sure what it's saying. I don't know. I'm just going to remove it. Okay. All right. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah, but
we cannot.
Okay. How funny. Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I have no idea why. I just suddenly got an alert from Zoom saying you were sharing a screen, and I don't know why. I guess I decided I was done sharing. Okay. I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just saying it's just clicked on, so
Yeah.
now we can see it, or at least I can.
Who knows? Technology, you know, sometimes it's amazing and sometimes it's just frustrating. Okay, so we're back in staff screen. And so every one of you should have a staff record. Your email, of course, is going to be your login ID. Quick note about passwords. There's one that's been randomly assigned to you. If you want to change your password, you can. I'm going to write this down so that you've got it. It needs to be at least 6 characters long, and you want it to be a combination of letters and numbers, right? So alphanumeric, just so that it's a good, strong password. Make sure that you're not sharing that with other people. And of course, it's a security issue, but it's actually a little bit more than that. Here's a good example. We had a couple of mediation centers that said, oh, it's too much work to create new login IDs for all of our interns. We'll just create one ID and we'll give it to everybody. So the system started to notice multiple people were logging in at the same time with the same email address and password. So of course, the system says, red flag, locks them out. So you really want to be careful that you're not using the same login ID and password for multiple people, because that's a big red flag. Because then the system says, oh my gosh, it's no longer secure. We have to button down the hatches. Okay? That's clear, right? That makes sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so I think that's it for your staff record. Make sure you come in the next time you log in, add in your initials. You can change your password if you want, add a phone number, whatever address information you want. You can check your availability, etc. And then from there, you'll just start to get notices about whatever cases you're involved in and whatever emails you've sent or have been sent to you. So your staff record it's a great place to, obviously maintain your information, your phone number, address, etc. But it's also a quick and easy place to see what's on your list. What cases are you involved in? What notes have been sent to you recently? So it's useful to, keep checking your staff record, and you just do that by clicking edit and then staff. So I've been trying to respond to questions, but it means also that I've been bouncing around a little bit. Sorry about that. The final thing I wanted to do was to go look at the mail center and just talk about how to send mail and create mail. Does that sound good, or do we have any other questions that we should go over before I leave the cases center? Oh, I will say one additional thing. Let's say that you guys are going somewhere and you need to keep all your case notes and participant information. Great example of this is if you're going to mediate somewhere and it's a place that doesn't have internet access, then I would click this button up at the top right where it says export this case. Then it will just obviously export all of the main details of the case. Again, you can choose what information you want to export and what you don't, and then you can just print out a paper copy of your case. So then you can, walk into the meeting with all the relevant details that you need. Okay, yeah. All right, so I think that's about it for the case record. That should be all of the main features that you guys will need to use. Now let's hop over to the mail center. So on the right-hand side, it's mainly, here's how you send an email. And I have a feeling there's nobody on this call that does not know how to send an email at this point. You can type in all the basic details, and if it's somebody on staff that already has an email address, if it's a valid email, of course, their name will just pop up. Or you can send it to one of these groups of people. So this is really nice. Let's say you're having an all-staff meeting, then you can send a note to all of your active staff. If you have a question about the overall settings of Caseload Manager, then you can send a note to all the admins. If you're within a case, then you can send a note to all the parties or all the complainants within that case. So, that can be useful. For instance, if you were planning on meeting at 9 and you need to push the meeting back to 9:30, then you can just send really quick email to all those people. Let's go ahead and do that as an example. So I'm going into my case, and I'm going to send an email to all. See this link over here on the left? So I'll click all, and it's now sending an email to all parties within this case. And I could use one of my templates over here on the left. For instance, if I need to review mediation arrangements or, I don't know, create an agreement. But for now, I just want to send them a note letting them know that the time has changed. So I'm going to use text substitutions. This is, if you've used Microsoft Word, it's the same concept. It's just like their mail merge concept where it will hop out to a database, grab the important information, and plug it in. So when I type this tilde, that's that little squiggly line. It was really sweet, by the way. I had one lady that kept thinking you actually had to spell it out, tilde. You don't. You can just use that squiggly line. And that's an alert to caseload manager saying, hey, wake up, I need you to do something. So this is saying, hey, plug in the person's first name. We have a meeting scheduled today. I'll have it plug in the date for your case. I'll have it plug in the case name at 9. We need to move that meeting to 9:30. Thank you. So we have 3 people right now that are involved in this case, and this is going to send a personalized email to all of those 3. So it will look to them like they're getting their own email because it will have their name plugged in, and it won't have the other people attached to it.
Claire, really quick,
Here,
so for last name,
yeah.
for example, do you not need to put the surname because it's already in the contact information?
It's up to you.
No, I mean, like, if I wanted to say, hello, Mr. Brown, would I need to put Mr., or can I just put hello, squiggly last name?
Oh, gotcha. I understand. You're right. You would need to put Mr. or Mrs.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you have multiple people, I would probably just do first name and last name.
Got it.
Just to avoid that situation. Yeah. Yeah. What we're looking at right up here, these are the most common substitutions. If there's something specific that you guys need, I noticed that you have created a lot of additional custom fields, like these CRB numbers, data queues, etc. If you need one of those to be a text substitution, so it would be something like, please include right, where it would just plug in their CRB number, then the point is just let us know, and we can work with you to create all the additional substitutions that you need so that it will plug in all the data from your case.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's probably something down the road as you get more familiar with the system, and then you'll find out what it is that you need and you want to have changed. But for the moment, I just wanted to show you, so when you're sending an email, here's how you can send it to a group of people and have it substitute in their first name and last name, all their good stuff. Yeah, and then of course, if you have to include case documents or upload documents, you can do that here, or you can print it out as a PDF. So if you're doing a final agreement, for instance, you'll probably want to print that as a PDF or create a PDF and print it and bring it to the meeting so that everybody can sign it. Yeah, mainly just play with it. You know, send yourself some emails and look at how they come up so that you're really familiar and confident with the system. So that's the mail center. All right. That's what I wanted. Okay, so at this point, I would say just log into the system and, you know, play with a few cases, try adding a couple activities, adding a couple calendar items, and then as you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. I can send everybody an email right now with my phone number. Oh, look at this. Click enter to do that. Okay, email to all active staff, support, hello, first name. So as you have any questions come up, you can visit our support center, which is www.caseloadmanager, or you can call me or email me. There you go.
Thank you so much, Claire.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah. So
Thank you so
any
much.
questions,
Yeah, thank
please
you.
reach out to me. Yeah, and other than that, just get in and start playing with it. You can't break it. Just enjoy the system. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
This was great.
So much. And so, Claire, in order to, because there's at least maybe 2 to 3 other people who might want to have a tutorial similar to this. Since it was recorded, how would we get access to it?
Sure, I can send it to you in a day. Usually takes about a day to process.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Great.
That way we don't have to call to do this like every 5 minutes when somebody joins.
You know, that's what I love about recorded trainings. It makes it so much easier on everyone.
Right.
Great.
Well,
Okay.
Well, we won't keep you much longer. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time this afternoon with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. And when you guys are ready to think about all these custom case fields and whether we could make some of these not be required, give me a call and we can just talk through some of the pros and cons of them. You know, what makes sense to be required and how that's going to affect you. Yeah. But
okay,
you know,
that makes sense.
we can wait and do that a little bit down the road. That's what's nice about this system is it's very malleable. You can play with it and then kind of squish it to be exactly what you need. So we can do that when you're ready.
Okay.
Great. All right.